And Red Sox Twitter yesterday during the WBC game when we were playing Great Britain and Nate Eaton takes Terry Skubal deep, they immediately post something about Nate and Eaton being celebratory. I'm like, it's 1-0, and we're 3 innings in, and we're feeling a little bit of the pressure right now. And I'm like, come on, Red Sox Twitter, what the fuck are you doing? It's USA first. It's okay to post that after we take a commanding lead, but everyone's sitting there going, no, dude, do not be posting us down 1-0. We're going to celebrate about it. USA first, Nate Eaton second. I'm sorry, Nate Eaton, but USA first. Do you agree with that take or no?
Yeah, I think I see both sides. I mean, like, obviously you want to pump your guys up, especially for someone like Eaton that's obviously not even close to a household name or anything like that. And to do it off Skubal, of course, is super impressive. But to your point, I mean, maybe read the room a little bit, where I appreciate almost all Red Sox fans are probably rooting for USA right now.
60-40, a Red Sox podcast. Big John and Sean, hot takes, special guests. It's a 60-40.
Finally, we've returned to the studio. We are the most electrifying podcast in Red Sox Nation. I'm your co-host, Big John. Alongside of me is the big ticket, Sean Jones. And together we are 64 Deep, a Red Sox podcast. Sean, I'm exhausted today. We turned the clocks forward, and I'm really, really tired. That's okay. I'm getting my second win talking to you. We have a lot to talk about today. How you been?
I'm good. I'm feeling you on the hour springing forward, though. I was up a little later last night, and then I had that like, oh, wow, that's even later than I thought it was now. So,
never
always
easy.
tough. The fall daylight saving is always a little bit more palatable, obviously. So
It is, but this is the one. So when we're in the fall one, it's actually not, I guess it's not actually daylight savings. It's standard time. This is the daylight savings. I like this one better. Like, fuck the kids in the morning. Let them get hit by buses. I mean, not really, but I mean, I like being able, I saw a stat that came out that said from now until October, the sun will not set before 7 p.m. And that sounds
that's
great
super
to
nice.
me.
And
I know.
I will say, living in Atlanta is funny too, because it's way more west than you think it is. So it gets dark even later than like a lot of the Northeast cities do, just because it is so much more west, even though it's same time zone. So you can really feel it here, where there's even some nights where it's like creeping up towards close to 9 o'clock and it's still light out. So I do feel
That sounds great.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like being a child playing baseball late into the night and playing catch with your dad. Like that's what I look forward to. And it's nice when that happens. And it's March. We turn the corner. We've got real baseball going on as real as it actually can matter for something, right? It's not the spring training. You got teams, and you saw that with the WBC, some of these players get absolutely pumped up with some game-winning home runs and theatrics that they had. So have you been watching some of them, Sean? I know they're on weird times, but have you got a chance to catch some of the WBC?
Yeah, for sure. I have not tuned into like every game. Obviously, like you mentioned, there's been some strange times on some of the games that obviously just make sense when you have these sort of world involved tournaments across the board. But yeah, definitely been able to tune into some stuff. Turned on the USA game at perfect timing last night, and I think they had like 1 or 2 hits in the game, and then immediately put up a crooked number. Schwarber hits a bomb, so that was very cool to see in real time. Watch that one live. Obviously, the Japan and Dominican Republic are the other two kind of big heavy hitters to be keeping in touch with. So I've been watching some of those games as well. So
And Red Sox Twitter yesterday during the WBC game when we were playing Great Britain and Nate Eaton takes Terry Skubal deep, they immediately post something about Nate and Eaton being celebratory. I'm like, it's 1-0, and we're 3 innings in, and we're feeling a little bit of the pressure right now. And I'm like, come on, Red Sox Twitter, what the fuck are you doing? It's USA first. It's okay to post that after we take a commanding lead, but everyone's sitting there going, no, dude, do not be posting us down 1-0. We're going to celebrate about it. USA first, Nate Eaton second. I'm sorry, Nate Eaton, but USA first. Do you agree with that take or no?
Yeah, I think I see both sides. I mean, like, obviously you want to pump your guys up, especially for someone like Eaton that's obviously not even close to a household name or anything like that. And to do it off Skubal, of course, is super impressive. But to your point, I mean, maybe read the room a little bit, where I'm pretty sure almost all Red Sox fans are probably rooting for USA right now. I mean, of course, there are some international fans, but yeah, I don't know how many Great Britain
It's not that we're not
fans are.
celebrating Eden, right? Like, we're good with it.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped that he hit a home run. We'll talk if we have time
Yeah.
on this podcast. Maybe we'll even talk about him making the team with Romy being injured. It's awesome that he did that. Just wait, just pump the brakes. Wait until we get like a 3 or 4 run lead, then post the Eaton home run, because let's be honest, no one else is going to be posting the Eaton home run. You don't have to worry about being first. You're the Red Sox. It's your Twitter. You can just wait on it. And they didn't. Get into talking about the BBC, but before we need to do what we do every show and drink some beers.
Drinking beers, we drink some beers, drink a beer, Big John and Sean. We're drinking beers, we drink some beers,
Mine's gonna be a slower pour because my beer was already a little shooken before I
fair.
grabbed it. So I'm trying. It came out bubbly.
Yeah, when I picked up this 4-pack yesterday, and when I got home, there we go.
It's half and half.
I dropped one of them when I walked in, so I had to make sure not to pick that one up, which I successfully did. So.
I'll tell you about mine after you tell me about yours first.
Mhm.
This one probably is the most, what's it called? Like when you can smell things really well.
I don't know,
Like, has a
aromatic.
good
Am I
scent.
making that
there
up?
we go. No, you got it. We're professionals. This is probably the most aromatic beer that we've drinking on the show. At least that I've drinking on the show.
Nice. Yeah, so I have new beer for me, but Repeat Brewery. This is Drowned Lands. I had another one from them a couple episodes back. But it was
I
very
almost picked it
solid.
up today.
Oh, nice.
Where's that?
Nice.
Where's it brewed? Who's the
I
company?
believe I think it was Connecticut. Is that what it was?
That's East Haven, North Haven.
Yeah, let me find it. This is like difficult.
I almost grabbed that today. It would have been amazing. We don't even coordinate it. We both grabbed from the same brewery.
That would be crazy if that does happen at any point. I can't find the labels like cut funny, so I can't see it, but I'm pretty sure it's Connecticut.
It might be North Haven or East Haven.
Yeah, it might be. But yeah, Drowned Lands is the brewery. I got Terra Blanc is the name of this one. Double IPA. Yeah, I think I had Green Yield was the other one that I had. But again, I liked that one, so they had a couple of other ones in there. So I decided to pick that up and try another one. Had a good rating
What's
as
it
well
taste like?
before. First sip, I haven't had yet. Actually.
I'd say first sip, drum roll. I'll wait for you.
That's good. This one, it's marked as just a double IPA, but definitely, I can tell that it's a hazy, even though I can't see it just from the taste alone, but it's really, really smooth. It's going down nice and a little juicy, but not like a fruity beer, but just like the little aftertastes are super good. I told you I've been trying to get a little up on sort of my hops, if you will. This is Phantasm and Syro with a Citra blend, I believe. So Citra is one that I have had a recurring theme of being in beers that I enjoy. So this is actually really, really, really good though.
I'm trying to see if Citra, is that what makes like a juicy Citra? Do those go hand in hand?
I would think so. I mean, a lot of the ones that I get are on the juicier side and they tend to have Citra. So I can't, correlation does not mean causation. Can't say that for sure, but I have noticed definitely that there's some overlap there typically. So, but this is actually really, really, really good.
I should have picked it up then. Maybe I'll pick it up from the next time I'm around it to grab it from the brewery. The one I have is from Omegang. Have you heard? It's in Cooperstown, New York. Have you ever had Omegang before? They're relatively big. They're a mid-sized microbrew or craft beer.
I don't think I've had it before. Sounds potentially familiar though, but
so the one I'm having is called Rarevos. It's an amber ale. They actually did way back in the day, for those out there that like Game of Thrones, they actually did like a collector's edition, special edition Game of Thrones beer for the different houses. It was through Omegang. And so they had a following back then. It's a vibrant spin on a Belgium storied amber ales named Sly Fox in Flemish. This ale captures the essence of a famed Brussels cafe renowned for its lively cycling events and pigeon races. And so it also has it's amber ale with orange peel, grains of paradise, and coriander. I was asking my friends as I picked it up, like, what the hell does coriander taste like? Again, I feel like coriander, nutmeg, it's all smells and tastes the same. But like I said, this is the most aromatic beer that I've had so far. So let's see how it tastes. This is like an amber ale. It's sweeter though. I like it. It's got a little bit of that bite at the end. That like, not, how do I, like almost like you want to drink water. Some beers, like after you like that bite or like the little bit of bite that it has at the end of its, when you're done drinking, it's like I need to take a sip of water to kind of wash this out, which makes it sound like it's not that good. But it's actually really good. So it's got that little bit of that as I said, that bite at the end, and it's good. It's just, it smells really good. It tastes really good. It'll get you
Thumb's
drunk.
going away there.
It'll get you. What's that from? It'll get you drunk.
Not even sure, to be honest.
A lot of things. It's from Chappelle Show.
Okay.
Having a Samuel Jackson.
I don't think I'm obviously familiar with Dave Chappelle, and I've seen some of his stand up, but I've not watched his actual show before. So.
Well,
I've heard good things of. He's very funny. I love his stand up.
The show was huge when I was in college. Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Like, you did not miss an episode when I was in college, and he was there.
Yeah.
It was absolutely like must watch television. He did a whole sketch on Samuel Jackson, because at the time, Samuel Adams commercials were huge. And then they were out like in a bar, and someone would say, yeah, you got to watch it. But they would say, I'm going to have a Samuel Adams. Me too. Me three. And that was a joke. So he did that, but he changed it to Samuel Jackson. And he goes, comes in yelling, screaming. He goes, because that's how I talk. It will get you drunk. So that's what that's from.
That's funny. Nice.
Okay. Into the WBC, right into Masa. And in typical Masa fashion, he's having himself one hell of a WBC. I'm trying to pull up the numbers right now. You know, this morning, everything kind of blends together. Hit that 2-run homer in Australia to take the go-ahead 2-run homer in the 7th. He had a solo home run and a 2-run single against Korea. Chinese Taipei, RBI triple to right field. He's got 2 home runs.
I got 5 for 10, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a 1.783 OPS. So almost not even real. His slugging is 1.2 something. So that tells you all you need to know about how good he's been so far.
Well, and this is just what he does at WBC. So in 2023, he set the record with 13 RBIs and /409, 531, 727. And that's what he does. It's what Masa does. I was kind of joking. I was saying that I hate our City Connect jerseys, our yellow ones. We should switch them or change them over to the Japanese jerseys, just in honor of him, and see what we get out of them. But this is going to be a big conundrum because, look, I believe the lineup is already set out with Duran or Roman some days, even Abreu on some days, give him a day off in the field. It's going to be a rotating DH, and Masa's on the bench. He's just going to have to be. It has to be, unless they make a move, which could this be setting them up to say, let's pump the stock of Masa to trade him, or maybe they fall in love with Masa all over again and they try to move a guy like Abreu or Duran. Just give me your whole rundown of what this means.
Yeah, it is quite the situation to be in, and we've talked about this for months now, but
but now he's performing.
I know. Well, I'm just saying the roster in general, like, it is not. Of course, you'd rather have more good players than not, but there's just not places to play guys. And, I do think that we could see a little bit more of a scenario where, Cedon is maybe playing more second base than we want him to. And then, especially versus lefties where maybe Marcelo sits, and then you can put Masa at the DH spot and, have Duran and Willier and Roman in the outfield. So there are ways to get creative beyond just like benching one of the other guys in the outfield, because there is the flexibility with Rafaela being able to play the infield as well. So I don't think anybody really prefers that being the route that we take here, but it might be what needs to happen in order to maximize this lineup. And I just keep coming back to the fact that Cora won't shut up about talking about how Marcelo Meyer is no guarantee to make the roster and he still has to earn a spot, which just to me says that he's probably not going to play every day, and he's going to play maybe less than we think he's going to. So I could see them doing a lot of Rafaela in the infield, and then, that's how we get Yoshida into the lineup. So I don't know. I think you and I agree that we're kind of like higher on Yoshida than the average fan, just from a like potential as a legitimate like impact hitter. I think he is like a good hitter overall, a good player, especially as a contact guy. And obviously the power is in there, It's obviously not the same level of competition from a pitching standpoint against all these teams in the World Baseball Classic, but he clearly can hit the ball over the fence at least in spurts. But his bat is the exact kind of, if you take power out of it, like his approach and like hitting style is the exact kind of bat that we do need in this lineup. A guy that doesn't strike out, a guy that hits the ball in play, that gets on base consistently, good eye. That is certainly, aside from the power, another weakness that this team had last year. So they can get creative, but they're going to need to if they don't make a move.
The knock on him, a lot of people that don't know, and we are shared that flaw. I actually love Masataka Yoshida. The more hatred that goes towards him, the more that I want him to succeed this year. Really rooting for him. I want to show everyone that how good of a hitter. He's not a good fielder. How good of a hitter he is and how valuable he could be. I really believe that if he could be on a team that went far in the playoffs and had the opportunity to have a game-winning hit, Yoshida's the type of guy that will get game-winning hits. This is not just a WBC thing like this morning or yesterday. This is a guy that big stages on him, he is going to deliver. I hate the hatred that a lot of people have towards Yoshida. He just doesn't, he hasn't, if you're asking him to be a 30, 40 home run hitter, he's not. If you're asking him to come up in the clutch,
25, 20, probably not.
If you're asking him to come up in the clutch with a man on second base and 2 outs, there's far and few players I'd rather have up to get a clutch hit than him. That's truly how I feel about him. People knock him and say, oh, ground ball to second base, Yoshida. Yeah, I get it, but that's better than man second base, nobody out, and strikeout like a lot of our players did last year. I am so rooting for Yoshida to find a way on this team, which means Torres going to have to be very creative. It's also going to be very bad optics to have $18.6 million bench player. $18.6 million bench player. Him and, not to go back to IKF, that's a total of $25 million, $24.5 million of bench player assets. That is a all-star level contract somewhere, right? That's how, or a number 3 starting pitcher. And then we're spending that type of money. So he can't sit on the bench. He's only got 2 years left. So maybe they do move him. I'm just afraid they move him and he makes an impact somewhere else. But I'm glad that me and you agree on the same page on him.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, we watched the playoff series last year. He was like the guy at the plate that I felt basically most confident about every time he walked up. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, like he was great in the postseason and just played his best baseball down the stretch. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that he just got off to a slow start from the injury and whatnot. Hopefully that sort of ramp up period isn't quite there because he's, not only playing at this time of the year, but playing meaningful games like we mentioned. So we'll see. I also will say back to the salary thing and like being mad at Yoshida, I'm like, I think it was pretty much consensus across the board when that signing happened that the Sox kind of overpaid him a little bit. So like, don't blame him. Like, blame the front office. If they gave him too much money and then they didn't build a roster that was like able to actually have him in the lineup, like, I don't think he's necessarily underperformed. I mean, I think he hasn't been so totally healthy, but would it be nice if he batted 310 for his career in the majors? Sure. But like, he's still been a well above average contact guy. And I don't feel like he's had some massive underperformance since we signed him. He really has been more health and just sort of uncertainty around role that's kind of driven some of the negative narrative.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad we feel that way. Every time I see negative posts about him, I'm like, come on, Masa, like just have a big year or force Core's hand to be able to make sure that you're in the lineup. I want to see you this year. I want to, it's actually, I find it very exciting. We don't see it in baseball that much anymore when you have like 3 guys go back to back to back in base hits. And I want to see, this team actually really does have the potential to do that. We could see that, single, double, right? That could very much happen in this roster. So I want him to be a part of it. Right. It'd just be fun to see that this year. So I'm really rooting hard for him. Let me ask you this before we move on to what we're going to talk about, which is really the 3 pitchers that we want to hit on. If you had to trade Duran, Abreu, Rafaela to get Yoshida in the lineup as a DH, right? I'm not going to put him in the field, but you're going to have Abreu, Duran, or Rafaela, and you could trade them and get either a second baseman that you really want to plug in. Because I agree with you. I think Mayer has to develop a little more, especially against hitting lefties. We talked about that before. Or a good relief pitcher like a Brian Abreu type of player, right? If you could trade one of those 3 guys, which one are you trading?
Well, can I do a different
answer? Do you want
to
move Cedar to second base?
No, I was gonna say, to be honest, like it's unfortunate, but I probably would just prefer to move Yoshida if we had to move one of those guys. Like, again, I like him. I will continue to speak highly of him, but when you just take age, team control, all of that stuff into account, like it just makes the most sense. Like if they genuinely just want to move Rafaela or genuinely want to move Duran or Abreu, like in a vacuum, then sure, make a trade like that. But they should not be trading those guys just because they want to
you're
get
right.
Yoshida into
But
the
let me
lineup.
put it this
Like,
way.
that's a bad reason to trade those guys.
That's fine. You're going to get Paredes. I suck Paredes back from the Astros because I agree with you. The organization doesn't feel like Marcel is ready yet. I'm sorry. I don't think they do because I don't think he can hit lefties yet, and you can't make him a platoon player. And they're going to give you Abreu, so one of the best relief pitchers in the game. So you get back Paredes and Abreu from the Astros. But to do so, you're going to have to give up either Rafaela, Duran, and Wilyer Abreu, and maybe another couple other minor leaguers, maybe.
Yeah.
Which one would you give up to make that happen?
I feel like
you're
this
going
is
to go ahead. Because you do that trade. You would do that. If you could bring Isaac Paredes in to fill that gap at second base, you're doing it, right?
Yeah, I think this is probably an unpopular opinion because I think people really like him, but I would probably trade Rafaela of the three personally.
I agree with you.
Because I understand the glove plays unbelievably. I mean, he deserved the gold glove, deserved the platinum glove, like arguably the best defensive player in baseball last season. And he's versatile, can play infield, outfield, any of those spots. Like, probably could play 7 of the 9 positions if he needed to. But the bat, like, is
how many
just,
walks, Sean? You said it last pod. How many walks?
It was less than 20. Like, it's just the bat has a really, really long way to go. And like, Jackie Bradley Jr. is a great example of like, you can have the best glove in the world, but if you're just batting 220 every year with not much power, striking out, not walking, like he was out of the league. He made the All-Star team in 2016 and was out of the league within 4 to 5 years, right? Like, he had a year and spurts where everything clicked. I think he had like a 20 game hit streak at one point. Jackie Bradley did. So he used to get hot back in the day as well, just like Rafaela can. But like, the lows are so low. And unless we see like really tangible strides this season of like the walk rate, not just going up, but like doubling where it was, which sounds like a big increase, but for how low it is, doubling actually wouldn't be that hard. And same with the chase rate and all those other things that come with just his approach at the plate. It's just he's not a viable offensive player right now. And the only reason he's playing every day is because it's defense. Like, I know that people like his upside offensively, but that is the reality of it. If he was an average defensive player, he would not be starting on most teams.
And compare him to the guy that's playing to his left, right field, Abreu. If you already had if you didn't have a strong defensive outfield, it's another question, but you already have a really strong defensive outfield. Wilyer Abreu is a gold glove in his own right, 2-time. As much as we give him flack for him, he'd really be playing left. But Duran's actually he's actually a better fielder than people give him credit for it. That's why his WAR
he's not bad.
Was
people shit on him, but like, he's like at worst an average outfield. Like, he's not like a bad.
No. And he has games where he's a very good. He gets the balls that people can't get to. That's why his WAR was what it was in 2024.
Yeah.
This was not just because of his bat. There is a defensive part to him, and you can look up his defensive run saved. He's not a bad outfielder. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. We already have a strength in it. I know it sucks to give it up. He's a highlight to watch, but your JBJ reference is 100% spot on. I agree with you. All right, let's move on to the pitchers. I was looking at my phone just to pull up, make sure I got it right. So pitcher list stats, and I'll give you their handle on Twitter. It's at pitcher list PLV. They're big in the fantasy community, but they came out with a really good, I love it, these cards where they rank the players after a pitching performance. We're going to have them on during the year. I've talked to them. They're going to come on during some of the games and break down our pitchers for us and their outcomes. So with that being said, we got 3 guys I want to talk about. It's Johan Oviedo, Payton Tolle, and Connelly Early after their starts recently in the spring training. Sean, I'll let you pick. Who do you want to go to first?
Let's start with Oviedo, just because I think he's kind of in the driver's seat to get that number 5 spot.
Okay. I agree with you. I think it's a lock that he'll get the number 5 spot, and we'll go into as well. Did you watch the game at all? Were you able to catch any of the stats on it?
I have not watched much spring training, to be honest with you, but I've been box score watching, as they say.
Okay. He was wild. He was wild in that game, but he found a way. It's like by wild, he'd go down to 3-0 counts. He get frustrated, but he did a really good job. That fastball, when he located that fastball, was absolutely electric. It was a rising fastball. And so this pitcher stats list that I've been using as well, they actually will track the horizontal and vertical movement of a ball and bring their grades to it. I'm trying to find if I have the actual IVB. I don't think I can actually find where he was on it. Oh, it's HVAA, which is actually his height adjusted. So it's a height adjusted. I forgot the HAVA stands for, but it's height adjusted something. It basically says if I throw a ball flat, will it move up or down? Right. And it's actually the softer you throw a ball, the actual more rise you'll get out of it. And what you want to do is make sure if you're throwing a ball that you have rise in it, you want to make sure that you throw it higher. So it starts like chest high and rises up. Because what you don't want to do is throw it bottom of the zone, and you'll actually it will rise
right down the
directly.
Middle.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then with the exit velocity and the swing, its ability for actually to get pummeled. So when he located it up higher in the zone, and you could watch the highlights, absolutely dominant. They put his HAVA at 1.5, which is a little bit above average. He's throwing about 95 miles per hour, and that extension, which I didn't realize his extension was that good, 7.2, which is outstanding. So
that's why they traded for him.
Yeah,
that's
I did not
Craig's
realize that.
favorite.
It is. I mean, look at him and Tolle and Early too, but Tolle, especially, I mean, all those guys. But you watch him, his extension and plus that rising fastball when he could locate it was extremely impressive. And then the other thing too that took away from it, looking at the metrics as well, arm angle. And then the closer you have the arm angle, so the arm angle, I forget what his was at, like 35. The more you can get your fastball movement up around I think it's 90 degrees, like right directly above you, is what you want. So if I throw at 40, so my arm's coming at you see my arm coming at you 40, and it's coming up around 90 degrees. If you can get it farther away from your hand, and then have either your curveball or your sliders, right? Big difference between the two. There's a lot of is what you want. And he was able to do it all game. I'm speaking a lot in tongues, but saying watching Javier's performance was
the
very
listeners
good
are like, English, please.
Yeah, was very good when he could locate it. That's me being really nerdish right there. But I say all the nerd stuff about it, Sean. Tell me what your thoughts on Oviedo is, because I was very impressed when he was able to locate. His location was terrible for a lot of the game, but he battled through it. He was dominant.
Yeah, no, I mean the numbers do not lie. He's been really impressive so far in spring training. He's started 3 games, but 8 total innings pitched and 0 earned runs, 9 Ks. 3 walks, so pretty good ratio there as well. One other thing I want to call out is Baseball Reference actually has this very cool opponent quality in terms of batters stats that they have for spring training specifically. It's a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being that you faced all major leaguers from a year ago. 8 would mean you on average faced AAA guys. 7 on average AA guys. 4 high A, etc. down the line, which is also I think is relevant for spring training in particular, because obviously like if you had great stats but your quality rating was like a 5, then it's like, okay, cool, you were striking out single A guys.
You mean like Cam Schlittler playing us in the
exactly
in the wild card round last year? Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Or Aaron Judge hitting a double play against a high schooler.
Yeah.
But he had
Go ahead. Yeah.
He had a 7.8 quality score out of 10. So, I mean, obviously, like it's not a 10, but that is one of the higher ones if you just look. I mean, because you're never going to be at a 10 in spring training because nobody's playing all their guys the full time, especially with the World Baseball Classic going on where guys are occupied. So, but that's one of the higher ones across the whole roster. So, and I think one that has to do with the fact that he started all these games. I think when guys come in relief, it's a little more of a mixed bag because even if starters started, they get pulled and they put the backups in. So he was facing, pretty high quality, like on average somewhere between Major League and AAA, which is about what the best you can hope for during spring training around this time of year. But no, he was dominant. I mean, his 2 of his starts, 3 innings plus pitched, no walks, 4 Ks. So really efficient, like you mentioned. Like I know he was a little wilder in that one game where he had 3 walks and in just an inning and 2/3. But the profile is starting to look really nice. And you and I talked about this where like he's been in kind of the driver's seat, and I feel like we both agreed that the only way he wasn't going to be the 5th starter is if he really struggled and one of the other guys like really, really performed at a high level. But 8 scoreless innings so far. I mean, it's to your point, it is his job now. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to be
And
the fifth
service
guy to
time.
start the season.
We'll get into the service time.
Yeah,
too.
we'll get it.
Yeah.
I very much agree. We'll get into that, I think, more when we talk about the other guys. But yeah, to your point, like there's no benefits to putting him down in AAA to start the season like there is with some of the other guys. And he's looked dominant. I mean, there's just no way around it. So yeah, really encouraging stuff to see out of him. And again, take spring training with a grain of salt to an extent, but it never hurts to have a guy perform like that, especially a guy that you gave up a real asset for and a guy that a lot of fans probably weren't like super, super familiar with. So it's just nice to see this early.
I want to see if we add velocity to his fastball too, because he was throwing 95.5 and that was what he was throwing last year. His velocity in spring training matches his last year velocity. I'm wondering if he's got something to dial it up, and we'll see that during the season starts as well. The only concern I'm going to nitpick any of his stats, his slider wasn't that great during the game. His swinging strike percentage was 0. Like it was the second most pitch that he threw, and not one was a swinging strike on it. So again, it talks more to his wildness. We'll wait and see on it. But yeah, there has been nothing but good things. I have nothing but good things to say about Oviedo, especially as our number 5 starter, which I'm going to tell you right now, and I think you might agree with me as well. He will not finish the year I personally believe Sonny Gray will end the year as a number 5 starter. I think Oviedo and anyone else that comes along in that, Bayo and Suarez, etc., will end up higher than Gray. But I'm very much high on Oviedo. Chris Castillo said he's got the inside track at the number 5 spot. He's been working out with Aroldis Chapman. Pedro Martinez has got involved with them. Take that as you will, because Brian Bayo also works with Pedro. We haven't seen tremendous movement from Bayo, but still, there's a lot of the organization is committed to him. I actually kind of hope if it was me, I would love they sign him to a long-term contract right now. I've seen enough. I would love to sign him to a long-term contract. That's my point on him.
We'll see.
Where do you
I might want to see a little bit more before we do that.
You don't want to do a Christian. I mean, look, after the Christian Campbell, you can't do any worse. I mean, Campbell's been horrendous. So,
well, he actually, that was still like during the actual regular season when he had played well. So I personally am not in the business of giving out extensions based on just spring training performance. If that was the case, Trace Thompson would have been on the roster last year. So
Trace Thompson had a great catch last night. You see that too?
He did. Yeah. I was so confused how is he like playing for Great Britain? Cause he's Klay Thompson's brother. And I'm like, are they not American? I'm like, I was confused.
I get it though. But the reason why I get it is because if you're like a fringe player trying to make a roster, you're like, yeah, I'll claim.
Oh, I get it. I just more am questioning how he finagled that eligibility when like their dad played in the NBA and Klay plays in the, like I maybe their mom is from there or something like that. I have no idea, but I was just thinking about that.
Well, I mean, a lot of these players aren't from those countries. They have heritage there, they claim it, and they just do it, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of these players, it gives them the opportunity to get the exposure they wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah.
Trace Thompson's trying to make a roster, so he's like, maybe I can play well in the WBC.
No, I get it from his perspective. If he plays really well there, it's probably more valuable and just helps his odds of making a roster more than it would if he was playing really well in spring training, which we obviously saw last season didn't do much for him. So.
Where do you want to go next? Which pitcher? Early or Tolle?
Let's do Early. I'm kind of thinking like order of likeliest to make the rotation. So
okay, you want to go first and Early?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he had one kind of tougher outing, but that was out of relief. So I would kind of like to put more stake into the starts that he had. In the 2 starts he had so far in spring training, 5.2 innings pitched, only 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, obviously a 0.00 ERA. I talked about that quality metric. He's at an 8.0, so that's actually a really good. Like,
what was Oviedo at?
7.8.
So he's better. So he's facing more quality pitchers,
exactly.
Players.
And if you look across like the roster in general, these numbers, like there's none that are 9 or higher. So like 8 is kind of like the best you're going to get. So that's really encouraging too, to see that he's played about the best possible competition that he could so far in spring training and has still performed at a high level. Obviously, he did have that one rougher outing, gave up 2 runs in 2.2 innings pitched. But I kind of like that happened in the relief appearance rather than the start, because I think obviously he projects as a starter and no one's wanting him to long-term be a reliever anyway. So obviously we know that can be kind of a different vibe for guys coming in and out of the games. But, you highlighted some of the velocity stuff. It seems like his velocity is up from last season. which is obviously a really telling sign and just a good sign for the team, because he talked about last year, like his goal this offseason was to bulk up a little bit, because he was just a pretty skinny, frail guy last year, even though he was still effective. So adding some of that extra muscle should help with that velocity. And that was some of the reason people were less high on him as sort of a top of the rotation guy, because of the
100%.
velocity.
No,
Yeah.
you're
And so-
100%. 100%. Because he was throwing. I'm trying to, as you're pulling that up, what he was throwing even before, and I want to say he actually brought it up last year at 94 miles per hour. I think he came out when scouts were first looking at him, he's around 92, 91, and then he got him to 94, and then the Detroit game on 3-6, he hit 96.2. So you're hitting all the right things. So 100%. That was always been a great changeup, but like how far can a changeup really get you if you don't have a dominant fastball?
Exactly.
But now
you got to be able to play off one another.
Yeah. And even in that game against Detroit, 94.8 was his average velocity. So he was still up 0.8 miles per hour. So he still was throwing harder than his hard last year, or his average last year. So I agree with you. He was actually Tolle's start was really impressive just from a pure stuff or velocity perspective. What Connelly Early did in that Detroit game, and watching him with location of the pitches, just looking about location, was impressive, like really impressive. And even his extension, he got to 6.9. So you're at the above average, right? Above average extension. He's got this changeup that had a 20% swing and strike rate, and a slider that was a strike percentage of 88.9%. So he is locating that slider in the zone, on the outside of the zone, and the spots where you just can't hit it, 88.9% of the time. He was that was just an impressive performance for him.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. He's looked really good so far. 8.1 innings pitched overall, 8 Ks, 2 walks, only 2 earned runs. As I mentioned, those both came out of relief. So a 2.16 ERA to this point, facing good quality, like I mentioned. The results have kind of been there for him throughout his time as a professional. So it is kind of more of like people were less enamored with the stuff. To see the stuff kind of just like tangibly improving is a really, really good sign, because we know that he's been able to command, games in the past, even just his short time in the majors last year. So we talked about this. I've been a huge fan of Early since we called him up, and even since he was like starting to get more reps in AAA last season. So that fit spot to me was a 2-man race the whole time between Oviedo and Early. But I think given some of the things we've kind of laid out, it makes sense for it to be Oviedo at this point. But I really would like Early to be, a part of this pitching staff down the stretch at the end of the season. And I think he ultimately will, at least in some capacity. What that looks like, I don't totally know, just because we got to see how the season plays out. But a lot of really encouraging stuff out of Early to this point.
Looking at it right now is his PLV plus, which measures how good of his start was against Detroit and compared to average. It's really about stuff and location. So pitch stats looks in actually stuff, location, and counts, and handedness of the batter. It brings all of that in and says, all right, how good was your stuff during the game? And to put it in perspective, 100 is average. Anything above 100 is very, very good. His four-seam fastball was 120. So way above average. His changeup, 112, above average. His slider was his best pitch, 125. And then to your point, which makes this, makes him very, very appealing, is the fact that if he keeps increasing his velocity, that separation between his four-seam fastball and his changeup is, you just increase it, right? You go from 11 mile per hour separation, where he was last year or 2 years prior, to if he can get to 96 miles per hour, you're at a 12, 13, 14 mile per hour differential. It just adds to his allure. I read somewhere, and I really like it, they call him a pitch mix maestro, right? The type of guy. And actually, after this came out, I posted or I retweeted it on Twitter. And I said, this is like watching Greg Maddux, like a 2026 Greg Maddux, where a guy has a little more velocity than Maddux does, but can dissect a hitter at the up at bat. And if we get a Greg Maddux type player out of him, he's been very impressive. I just want to keep watching him grow.
Yeah,
I think of the three guys, I think Early is something else. Like, he's just special.
Yeah, no, I agree. But with all that said, I know we kind of we alluded to this previously about the service time thing, where if Early spends 5 total weeks in AAA this season, then we gain an extra year of control on him. He's right now scheduled to be have team control through 2031, which puts him at his age 28 season. But it would be through 2032 through his age 29 season if he spends 5 weeks in AAA. So with all that said, I think that is kind of worth playing out. I do think that he's probably going to start the year in AAA, if not for that reason alone, even if he's good enough to be in a major league rotation right now, just because they've got enough arms to not necessarily quote unquote need him in the rotation. So gaining that extra year of control, I mean, kind of sucks for him because I'm sure he wants to be on the major league team. And I'm sure as fans, we all want to see him pitch in the majors as soon as, he's at least ready and capable of doing. But in the long run, the organization has to take the long-term lens on this. And I think it just makes sense to have him down in AAA to start the year just because of that alone, honestly. And then, who knows, maybe then in May he gets that call up or when someone gets hurt or whenever it is. But, if you can have him through his entire season, then I think that's something that's pretty hard to turn down.
Hold that thought. I'm going to argue with that at the end of this episode.
Okay.
Of where I think might happen. I hear everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. We're going to have a devil's advocate argument about that.
This is good.
Yeah.
I'd rather us disagree.
Let's finish with Payton Tolle. Tolle comes out against the Yankees, hits at 100.4, 101 miles per hour, right? Looks absolutely dominant. 3 scoreless innings, 7 Ks, including 5 straight punch outs, topped out that 100.4 miles per hour. And this was his breakout spring outing. He said, you keep doing that, you'll get a lot of outs, will win a lot of games, and get a trophy at the end of the year. Which is interesting that Cora said that about him. Your take on Tolle?
Yeah. That appearance was obviously very impressive. 7 strikeouts in 3 innings, 1 hit, no walks. Like, it just as lights out as you could really be, other than the 1 hit he gave up, whatever. Going back to that quality score, his was a lot lower, 6.4 so far across his 3 appearances.
Yeah, that's the Yankees, though. They're not very good.
Yeah, it's fair. But that puts him, the average batter he faced was essentially between a AA and AAA quality. And even that Yankees game, if you look at the lineup, there was only 2 guys that started or even played at all that were, even in contention to be in the Yankees lineup. And that was Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez. And by the time he came in the, was it the 6th inning, I believe he came in, those guys were already out of the game. So he didn't really face any major leaguers in that game. So again, I'm not, obviously, like, you want him to pitch well regardless of who he's going up against, and like you want to see the progress and the results and all that. So I'm not like trying to discredit him by any means, but I just mean that, he dominated minor leaguers, which is good. That's what we want to see out of him, but he didn't really face any of the major league guys. So I do want to put that small caveat. And then outside of that game, he's been a little shaky, 2 earned runs in 1.2 innings in one of the other games. He gave up a solo homer in his lone start. The other 2 were relief appearances, but so he hasn't been bad, 4.05 ERA overall in the 6.2 innings he has pitched. So I'm not trying to take away, it's more about stuff for him at this point. He's so young. I've been on record saying that I think there's like basically a 0% chance he was going to start the year in the majors anyway, considering he's, only had like 1 year as a pro. And the fact that he even made the majors at all last year was like crazy impressive. And
right,
probably
high
more.
A.
Yeah,
he
probably more
high
out
A
of
last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he like vaulted up the system a little unexpectedly, even though people have always liked him, obviously. But to me, he's been the most obvious, like, start in AAA, give him time, let him pitch, 10, 15 starts down there. Again, another thing that we've talked about with him too is the like going deep into games. He just didn't do it really at all last year. And of course he's looked good, but these have been, again, small stints. So to me, I obviously have liked what I've seen, and I still am like in full belief that he can be like an ace at one point in his career. But just given his youth and the lack of proven ability to pitch 6, 7, 8 innings in a game, I still think it makes way more sense for him to start in AAA.
And I think he's going to, because they're still working on his pitches too. Right. They're
that's
still
what I'm
working
saying.
on.
He's more in like a developmental, like, let's see what we can optimize to like what you'll eventually be types state, which is totally fine. I mean, like I said, the guy was drafted like a year and a half ago or something like that. So it's not
I'm looking right now as I have an autographed rookie card of his that I got
Yeah.
graded last year, and I bought that card for like $20, $15. His first year he got drafted because no one really had a lot of. He threw like 91 miles per hour from TCU. He was not a guy coming out that people thought was going to be throwing 100 miles per hour. But some of those metrics, those games are great, right? His curveball, I think the last 7 strikeouts were on the curveball, right? Perfecting. And it was, I mean, look at some of the numbers right now. There is a stat called called strikes plus whiffs. So the strikes plus the whiffs on it, 62.5% on the curveball, which is insane. Like that is upper echelon on a curveball. Right? He's developing that sinker cutter that he's been working on as well. So he's a guy that I agree. They're going to have him down for more seasoning. But when they draft him, here's some of the metrics they already knew about him. His extension of 7.6. Like that extension is ridiculous. By the time he's releasing that ball, the ball's almost in the catcher's mitt. That fastball, that 100-mile-per-hour fastball, I think the actual math says it was 100-mile-per-hour fastball with a 7-foot extension, add extra tick to it. So you're almost at like 102 based on where his 100 point whatever was. So he's actually, it really feels like 102-mile-per-hour fastball coming on you with a lot of movement on it too. His Hava was 1.5, which is really good. And vertical break was 15.7 inches, which is very good. Horizontal break, 6.5. This is all on his fastball, right? His fastball is great. Absolutely great. And so, but I agree. They need seasoning. They got to work on his curveball. They got to work on his cutter. Let me ask you this, Sean. One of the things I heard from a lot of people on Twitter that I completely disagree with, like, oh, he'll be a closer. That build and that body, and with this repertoire that he's developing, it's a waste if he becomes a closer for the Red Sox organization.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a top 20 prospect in baseball right now. So, any starting pitcher that's in the top 20 becoming a closer is, I won't say a failure, but more of a disappointment. I mean,
it's a waste.
The hope is that he obviously becomes the top of the rotation guy. And also I'll preface, like, I wasn't trying to come off as like negative for him. Like I am more just kind of trying to level set, where I think people are jumping the gun a little bit with him in terms of like the idea of him making the rotation this year was just like kind of not realistic in my opinion. But to your point, he projects as the top of the rotation guy from a stuff perspective. And like you mentioned, the body type, but the workhorse traits have not been there quite yet, I will say. And so but that's one of the reasons why I'm very pro him. Like if he spent the entire season in the minor leagues this year, I would personally not be mad about that. Because I do think he needs to, they need to put him on a program that has him focus on a few things. One of them, building up stamina and being able to go 7-8 innings, throw 100+ pitches, and work up to that level. Because like I said, as a professional thus far, I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I believe from last year, I don't think he pitched beyond 6 innings once as a pro last year, or something like that.
Right.
So I'm
right.
I can't feel confident about a guy being a full-time rotation arm if he hasn't even pitched 7 innings as a professional to this point in his career at any level. So that's something that he just needs to work through. I think the stuff's there. We've seen the results in smaller samples, but he needs to be able to build up to that workhorse ability. Because if we're being totally honest, if he's nasty but can only go 5 innings, then he's not going to be an ace. He's just not. Part of being an ace is being able to pitch deep into games. I mean, we saw Crochet as the carbon copy example of what you want out of an ace. Cause we saw last year in the postseason, when we needed him the absolute most, the guy was just going to die out on that hill before he came out. You know what I mean? So and he didn't lose effectiveness at all. He wasn't he throwing his fastest at the end of the game? So that's the kind of stuff you want out of your ace. And so if he can't get to that, he doesn't need to be at the 115 pitch in a game 1 of the playoffs type situation, but he at least needs to be able to flirt with 100 on any given start and be comfortable going into the 7th or 8th inning before we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, that's a guy that we want in the rotation right now. But I think, like I've been saying, that's the benefit of him having the leash to be able to go into AAA and make mistakes. And maybe he'll lose some effectiveness, but it's more about getting reps in those situations and building that arm up. And we're lucky that we have a deep enough, pitching staff to essentially not need him this year.
That's to go on a tangent, but that's the reason why Ranger Suarez has never been like dubbed an ace, because he can't put the innings in.
Yeah, and it's fair though. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we talked about that when we signed him. I had my hesitations. I was like, look, we're a better team with him than without him. But would I classify him as like this, like just top of the line, set it and forget it, number 2 starter? Like, not entirely. There was at least 5 or 6 names that I kind of preferred over him. And that was a big reason why, is the innings pitch thing, where it's like, if I don't feel confident you're going to go out there and pitch even 180 innings, let alone like 200 or something like that.
How could you call yourself an ace? You can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How could you be like, oh yeah, like I'm one of the best number 2s in the game? It's like, well, at the very least,
short
like,
spurts.
Yeah,
short
exactly.
Spurts you are.
Exactly. And so
this is a marathon. Yeah.
Totally. 100%.
So you nailed it on Connelly Early, 35 days until the time in the minors, get the extra year. Tolle's a little bit longer, 46 days. That's what he needs in the minors to get it. So that's even more of a reason why I put him as the least likely to break camp, because they can get that extra year control of him through. Same thing, 2032. So I think we both agree that Oviedo will be the 5th starter. But here's where I'm going to differentiate with you just a tiny bit on it. It's because I believe the best way that the Red Sox could actually move forward this year, and you're going to disagree with me on it, but I'm going to make my case on it, is 6-man rotation. 6-man rotation. And we talked about before, because you really wanted to see Crochet pitch every 5 days, and I get it. I get why you want to see him every day, but this team doesn't need Crochet to pitch every 5 days. And the way that baseball has gone today, where it's a little bit easier to make the playoffs, this team's deep enough and good enough to make the playoffs, where Crochet pitching every 6 days, maybe in the beginning of the year. This is not the same Red Sox team where back in the day, Pedro Martinez had to carry us, because you had Pedro and nobody else. This is pre-Schilling. It was Pedro and nobody. And so Pedro had to go out there and win those starts, because it was a huge drop-off after Pedro. There's not a huge drop off. That's not true. That shit is true. If Suarez is healthy,
there's a pretty big drop off in my opinion, but
well, I mean, from how they dominated game, yes. The result of the game, no. Right? If Suarez could pitch all those innings, that he doesn't dominate the way Crochet does, but he wins games. He bulldogs and wins games. So there's not that much of a drop off per se after him. But if you went to a 6-man rotation, I would put it early there. So Oviedo, and then Early. Sonny Gray absolutely shit the bed last year, second half of the year. So in theory, you're going to extend him for the year. Suarez hasn't pitched more than 130 innings? Was it 160? What's the number? 130?
Yeah, I think he hasn't hit 150. I think he's been 148, 140, like in the high 140s a couple times. But
so you're gonna get him extra starts. And look, saving Crochet's arm, we have a long investment on him, isn't a bad thing either. We want as many years on him as possible. So if it was me watching how Early's pitched and knowing how Sonny Gray is and how his age, and Oviedo also as well, Oviedo coming off Tommy John surgery, 2 years ago, I don't think it's a bad thing to go to a 6-man rotation with this rotation. And if any team could do it, it's this one. The Red Sox have the potential to have the best rotation in baseball. That's why I said at the beginning of this pod, I think Sonny Gray could be the worst of the 5, which isn't saying much, because Sonny Gray is a very good pitcher. Pause, react.
First of all, I will clarify. I'll give Ranger Suarez slightly more credit. I double checked. He's never hit 160. He has hit 150 a couple times. Okay. But you said I was going to disagree. I vehemently disagree with the fact that they should do a 6-man rotation. I think it's a bad idea across the board, and I don't even think they should consider it. You said that they could be one of the best rotations in baseball. You know why they could be one of the best rotations in baseball? Because Garrett Crochet is pitching 1 out of 5 games. And it doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but 1 out of 5 versus 1 out of 6, that's 20% of the games for 16-17% of the games. Like if it was a shorter season, that's 1 or 2 starts. Baseball is a long ass season, 62 games. Like that stuff adds up. That's like 4 or 5 starts, that maybe even more. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but like at least 4 or 5 starts that they would have Crochet pitching that they're not having Crochet pitching. And that could be the difference between 4 or 5 wins right there, in my opinion. And this isn't even, that's just one reason. Like, it's not even just the Crochet piece of it to me. Like, I just think that I think pitchers start to get out of a rhythm when they have too long of a layoff, especially if they're having that consistently. And that might even be even harder if they do get to the postseason and they're going from pitching every 6 days to now you got to ramp up to like a 3-4 man rotation. And, so it's like, there's just a lot of reasons why I don't think it's viable. And to your point, if Sonny Gray, it crumbles down the stretch, then okay, cool. Then bump him to the bullpen. And now Early's in the rotation. Like, there's no reason to have everybody pitching to start the year when Early can start the year in the minors. Crawford and Sandoval are both coming off big injuries anyway. So just roll with the 5, be reactive rather than proactive. That's why you build depth, is to account for when injuries happen, not to proactively. Like for example, let's say we had like the same thing with the outfield where it's like there's too many guys for too many spots. It's like you're not gonna like bench Roman at like 1 out of 4 days just because you have the people to fill the spots. You know what I mean? Like you want him in the lineup every day. Right. And so it's the same thought process where it's like you want your best, as long as your guys are healthy and able and can go out there, you want your best guys on the field as much as you possibly can. Obviously guys will have off days, but with starting pitching, inherently they have off days built in. So I'm pretty anti it. And I think there's a reason that, teams just don't do this that often. And one of them is probably because they don't have the depth, to your point, but
that's a big one.
We've seen teams like, think about the Dodgers. Like Dodgers are always a very good litmus test in general for just things because they're like the premier organization right now, obviously. But like they've gone into years where you can look and you're like, oh my God, they have 8 or 9 like legitimate, like anyone would be happy to have those guys in their rotation. And they still haven't done that. And come the end of the year, injuries build up and suddenly you're like, oh man, Dodgers only have like 4 starters right now. Like 2 years ago when they won it, if you remember, they had like 3 starters. They were doing a bullpen game like every 4th game or something like that. But if you looked at
if they had a 6-man rotation, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe Glasnow doesn't get hurt.
Like,
right?
Maybe. But I'm also like, it worked out fine. It's kind of what I'm saying, where I'm like, they had so much talent where.
Yeah, we don't have that.
But our rotation is worse than the Dodgers, but it's still good, and that's the point. It's like
no,
we've
I
got
would say
quality
our rotation
and
is
depth.
right there with the Dodgers. I would say, I'm telling you, man. After watching Early, I mean, Roki hasn't shown me anything. Right, Glasnow has been injured. Look, if I don't know what they're going to do with Shohei, Yamamoto is Yamamoto. Right, he's been phenomenal. But I would tell you that our rotation could match up directly with the Dodgers rotation. It's the rest of it we can't match up against. Well, go do it.
We're not that far behind, but I would pick Dodgers rotation personally, just because I just think they've got 3 guys that could be like number ones on teams. Between Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow. I feel like I'm forgetting someone too.
You have Snell, Glasnow, Rookie, Yamamoto, and then I don't know what they're going to do with Shohei this year. Let's say they're Shohei pitch. I saw something recently about Shohei. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but you got Shohei, you got Roki. You got Shohei, you got Yamamoto, you got Snell, you've got Roki and Glasnow. Yeah, you're right. Except for Roki. Roki has not pitched well. Outside of Roki, you're right. The 4 of those guys are. Shohei is phenomenal, so I guess they're better.
Yeah, Crochet, he's really good.
We're not that. I mean, but they don't have that. Yeah. Yeah. But my argument back to you is that what makes rotation so good is that, yes, Crochet gets a pitch every 5 days. But when guys start getting hurt or start getting tired, then it's not that. Like, you want to keep. I believe this team is going to make the playoffs. So my personal belief is we're going to have to make the playoffs. I want the freshest possible arms I have going into the playoffs. That's where I'm coming at it from. So I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about the regular season as much as you are.
I get what you're saying. I don't think the team's good enough to take that kind of approach. Like, I think the Dodgers have been cautious with guys in the past, for example, but that's because they know they're going to make the playoffs. Their offense can carry them if their pitching is like not at the place it needs to be, or they've had injuries. Like, there's no guarantee that the Red Sox are an above average offense. Like, there's not. If we're being honest, they don't have the power going in that we know for sure, and they also don't have like the contact guys we know for sure. So like, I'm looking from it like they have, in my eyes, I'm not saying they're not gonna make the playoffs. Like, I haven't fully looked through everything, done my preview deep dive. Like, I think that they are certainly in a position to make the postseason this year, but they still have to prove that they're definitely a postseason team this year. Because I at best, I think they're like comparable to last year's team. It's a little bit different, a little better in the rotation.
They're better last year's
rotation, but they still only won 89 games last year. Like, 89 games is
they're
not
a better team.
The 89 games is not every year good enough to get in. Their over under projection this year is sub 90 again, if you look at Vegas. So I'm just saying, like,
Vegas a bunch of bums.
It's no guarantee that they make the playoffs. So I just think, look, if let's say they start off the year hot and they're comfortable and like it looks like they're clearly going to get in, and maybe they want to pivot to that to save arms down the stretch, that could be a different conversation for me. But I think it's a little too cocky to go into the year and be like, yeah, well, we're just going to rest and save our guys for when it matters, because when it matters might not come. It's not guaranteed. What happens if Roman, one injury to Roman like that, and suddenly our offense is like really bad? And we saw what it looked like last year without him. So that's all I'm saying is like, we don't have the luxury of that.
What if Early or Tolle, but I'm more lean towards Early, dominate in AAA to start the season, and you start hearing the media come out and say, what are you going to do with these guys? Like, they have nothing left to prove in Worcester. They have nothing left to prove in Polar Park. Then it becomes a real conversation about, you can't just keep them down there the whole year. I know you want to keep them down there.
But there's alternatives. Trade Sonny Gray. Trade Brian Bayo. You know what I mean?
Sonny Gray, and we're end of this thing, I think is, again, a dumb move by Craig if these guys are that good. Right, so the $20 million we're spending for.
I don't think it was a dumb move, because we hope they're that good. But dominating spring training, dominating minor leagues it's been a lot of pitchers that have done that and then not.
Yeah, but you saw Early pitch well last year. It's not like you didn't see Early pitch well. He pitched well. He pitched well in the playoffs. Sure. He pitched well down the stretch.
Yeah, it's tiny, but it's very well. Small sample size though. I'm not disagreeing. I think he's going to be really good. I'm just saying that, like, I think if we didn't have Gray, like, we'd be going into this year being like, well, the rotation like should be good, but not a lot of sure things. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be like, Ranger Suarez, we feel pretty good about like being what he's been. Crochet, we know what we're getting. Bayo, like, the advanced stats suggest he kind of had an outlier, like, luckier year last year.
Stick with Bayo. I have to wrap up. I mean, me and you both agreed that like in December that we did not want to trade Bayo. Knowing what we've seen so far, has your mind been changed if we can get something impact bat, not that, but back to the team? Would you be more willing to trade Bayo now?
Not yet. I am not a huge fan of, like, this is not the time of year to be like reacting to, like,
no, I agree. Trace Thompson.
Yeah, spring training. I don't get me wrong. Bayo has been terrible. He's got over a 24 ERA in two starts so far.
I don't care about spring training numbers.
But to your point, I don't really care. Like, if he gets out of the gate and is really bad, then like we can reevaluate. But like, this is not the time of year to be like, oh my God, the guy's struggling, we're going to trade him. But back to what I said earlier, like, if those guys are just tearing up the minor leagues and just like banging on the door until you can't deny him anymore, then yeah, it's a different conversation. Maybe I would trade Bayo. Maybe like Gray probably would have some value, especially if they eat half the contract. If we're like, here's Sonny Gray for rest of the year at $10 million, like, teams will bite on that. And so, like, that's why I'm saying, like, I like going into this year having a reactive approach to the roster just across the board. Like, let things play out. Like, I'm sure one of the pitchers is going to be way better than we think. I'm sure one of them is going to be way worse than we think. But let that happen. Like, let it play out and let them make the decision for us, instead of us trying to sit here and like perfectly optimize this rotation and roster to a T on day one, when like some of these decisions that seem kind of hard right now might not be that hard in 2 months, because we'll have actual results to base it off.
True. And there's precedent behind it. It's the Bronson Arroyo effect. Same thing we talked about last two pods ago, where Theo felt the same way. We had a ton of depth. They trade Bronson Arroyo to Cincinnati for William Pena. William Pena was a bust. Looked amazing. Looked like Justin Gonzalez coming over here, but could not play in the majors. And Bronson Arroyo went on to have a very serviceable career as a number 5 starter. I believe that was the year we had Lackey and one other pitcher. They both got hurt. It might have been Lester. It might have been the year Lester got hurt too.
I'm not sure Lackey and Arroyo had overlap, because they didn't sign Lackey till like 2012, 2011, 2010.
So was it Lester? Who was it? Lester? They had a couple injuries that year. I'm trying to see. Let me see. Arroyo, first year with Reds.
2006 was first year with the Reds. So yeah, that was way pre-Lackey.
Like, my mind is going to be completely wrong. I wonder if Lester had his cancer diagnosis then.
Maybe 2006 rotation was Beckett, Schilling, Wakefield, Clement, and Lester. But Lester only pitched 15 games. Clement only pitched 12. Kyle Snyder started 10.
So I remember, like, so when that happened, they're like, well, because they first came in, like how you say I'm being cocky, that was the same way that Theo was being too. They said, well, we've got way too much pitching. Let's deal aside. Then Clement gets hurt and Lester was hurt. I don't know if that was Lester's cancer year or not. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I think 07, he barely pitched. So I think he maybe, I don't know if it was like towards the back end of 2006 or into 2007. If I recall correctly, the 2017 Lester was like, came on late down the stretch to help that team win the World Series, but did not pitch much that year. But it's funny, actually, Bronson Arroyo's first year with the Reds, 6.8 WAR that season. So that's what I'm saying.
It was very good. I remember when it happened. Like I remember watching like ESPN. Like I used to watch Baseball Tonight all the time.
He got MVP votes.
Yeah, I'll go to my friend's house. This is what we did back then. We go to my friend's house, we grab a beer, watch Baseball Tonight. I remember them constantly ragging on the fact that like Bronson Arroyo's having this very good year. And it was a very much an eye-opening experience where a lot of things you're saying right now are very much true. When you think you have too much pitching, you don't. Because it just takes an injury or two to absolutely deflate your rotation, and you're wishing you brought some of those guys back.
Yeah.
All right, Sean. Let's wrap it up. So thank you everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe wherever you're listening at. We're all major podcast stations, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or Apple or TikTok. Thank you for making us one of the fastest growing Red Sox podcast content creators in Red Sox Nation. I think our last things got over 10,000 views, which is very good. Sean, anything you want to say before we say goodnight to the people out there? Or good morning if you're driving to work.
We are, we're coming up on the season, just a couple weeks away. So super excited. We're going to do probably some more preview related content and prediction type stuff rather than reacting to what we've seen. So I'm excited to do that stuff. I'm excited for us to disagree on some stuff, make for good content. So
I'm excited to see what yours are. Like, we're not going to talk. We're just gonna throw it out there
exactly. I'm gonna just rip it and we'll try to get your gut reaction off the cuffs.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day, your night, your evening, your dinner, your breakfast, your lunch.